Hello, Brian Truly from Optimized Marketing, here to talk about your 2021 marketing vision. If you don't have one, we're going to work on that, and strategy. So it's important before you set any budgets, before you say, hey, where am I going to spend money? How am I going to allocate it? That you understand a few key things. One, where have you been? What worked last year? Are you doubling down on the things that are successful? And two, where's the overall market going? And when I say that, where are people spending their time? Where are they investing their energy? Where are their eyeballs in 2021? And so today we're going to focus mainly on that second part. Where are people spending their time? How can you get in and engage with them? And we'll do a separate video talking about, hey, what's the historical, what's the data, and how to look at that. So we're going to have some fun. Stick with me here. You're definitely going to watch this before you do any finalized budgeting. So number one, what not to do. So how do people normally go through in budgeting? They do a few things. One, they start with their old budget and they just move this up a few percentage, move that up a few percentage. Why? Probably because it's easy. Let's be honest here, right? It's simple. I just spent this much on TV, I'm gonna adjust that a little bit. Spend this much on direct mail, just that. Don't do that, right? If anything, get rid of the old budget. Start over from scratch. Put nothing on that piece of paper and start over based on what you know was most successful in your market. Okay? And what we're going to review here. Consider where people are spending their time and use those as the biggest portions of your budget. Okay, we'll look at that a little bit more. One, choose an arbitrary amount for this integrated online-offline approach. So let's be really clear. We're not biased to digital, right? I'm agnostic. If the marketing works, do it. If it's radio, if it's television, if it's direct mail, if it's knocking on doors, whatever. If it works, do it. However, I am biased towards what works. And when you can show that it works, you're going to want to spend more money there. So don't just say, hey, we need to be integrated because that sounds good or because that makes you feel good. Do what's going to work. Don't base it on outrageous rule of thumb like, hey, at any given time, 2% of the market's going to be interested in your product when you run radio ads. Ask me sometime about that discussion I had with the radio salesperson in my business 12 years ago. Don't ignore what worked. Yeah, I had a conversation with a customer recently. They were like, oh, wow, this strategy, we run TV in this area, was really successful. Oh, it's awesome. Why aren't you guys running that TV ad right now? Well, yeah, that's a good question. Don't do that. It's working. Run it forever. And base your spend on what you do. So a lot of people do this and say, hey, Brian, you said nobody's on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. You know, my brother's not on Facebook. Nobody's there. Yeah, don't do that. Ignore you. You are not the target market. You are not the consumer. Whatever you do is irrelevant. Hard to do. Keep that in mind. Okay, so quick overview. What has happened in the last, let's say, 8 years? People are spending less time on television. If your television budget is the same as it was 2013, you've lost about 31% of gross rating points for that key demographic. So yeah, spends the same. Your targets frequencies are the same. You lost 31% of your marketing penetration. Nothing surprising there, and that's a minimum. That doesn't include how many people are DVRing and just fast forwarding. So you probably already know that. Okay, so what does mass media mean today? Well, mass media is real simple. It's getting in front of the most people, right? How do you get in front of people today? Number one way, Facebook. This is an amazing number. 196 million, and some of these numbers are kind of varied. Some are per year, some are per day, some are total. So I'll try and simplify this. Facebook, 196 million people in North America log into Facebook every day. When you start looking at monthly, you're now at about 220 million. YouTube, it's hard to get daily active users because a lot of people are on YouTube aren't logged in, right? They're just watching the videos. But it's real close to Facebook when we look at the monthly. They're a little under 200 million, 197 million. And interestingly enough, YouTube has more penetration overall. So 73% of Americans watch YouTube in the last, I think it's month, whereas 69% are on Facebook. So keep that in mind. Name one other area, one other place you can go to get 73% of people. I can't think of any. YouTube. And Pinterest, really interesting one here. Why? Because it's a very female skewed demographic. People have high purchasing intent. It's still relatively cheap. And it is almost like advertising in the Super Bowl. Did you know that? Almost the same amount. It's about 88 million people on a That's a monthly active user number. Okay, so let's just compare here. What else is there? On a daily basis, you got 7 million people on CBS, the most popular network. Okay, Sunday Night Football is about 20 million. So Facebook and YouTube are 10 times bigger than that. I think you get the point, right? Mass media today is digital. You can't ignore that. And more importantly, think of it this way. Once you, in your local market, have mastered Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, one of them, all of them, you have a huge first mover advantage. You can throw more money at those, you can get better results, and you're going to push your other competition out of the way with that, right? There's still, Yellow Pages people are still investing in. Like, things are becoming less efficient outside of this world, and I'll talk about a little bit why. So if you're the first in your market to work with us to master this, don't put $500 in it and say, oh, see, that doesn't work. What do you think? Facebook's going to disappear? No, it's going to be here, right? It's going to be here for a long time. YouTube as well. They're not going to just, if you don't master it this month because you put only $1,000 into it and you say, hey, I can't track anything to it, what are you going to do next year, right? So make sure you have an appropriate amount of your budget dedicated to learning and figuring out what works in these mediums. And I promise that'll pay dividends for years to come. A good thing to keep in mind here is when we look at the buyer's funnel, at any given time, 3 to 5% of people are interested in your product. That's it. And those we're dominating on organic search and on paid Google search. Do really well with those, good, strong ROIs. Awesome. But what does that mean? That means there's 20 times more people not necessarily searching on Google for you. That's where the opportunity is. Keep that in mind. And historically, what you would do is, okay, cool, right? I'm going to run TV ads, I'm going to run radio ads, and try and get people who are problem aware into the information gathering mode. But unfortunately, a lot of those ads we run for reaching these 20% of the problem aware are trying to get them to buy right now, right? So, okay, I know I have a water problem, so I ran a radio ad that says get a discount. Well, people only want discounts if they're ready to buy. What about getting more information? And so digital gives us a way to bring people along the funnel a lot more efficiently. So it doesn't mean those things won't work, right? I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you have to be cognizant of the strategy. What are you doing to move people along this funnel? Okay, so let's talk about this. I'm going to skip through these very quickly. We're going to do a separate video where we kind of dig into these more and have some more examples. So let me just highlight a few things. What does traditional marketing look like? I focus on frequency, I focus on the number of people, and you kind of combine those into what's called gross rating points. What does that do? I can get into the same people seeing the same message over and over. What does digital look like? You can personalize the videos, the message, and test dozens of them with minor tweaks in different formats in different areas based on their demographics, their psychographics, their behavior and intent. And even more powerful than that, if we go back to our funnel here, how do I get somebody that's problem aware up to buying now? Well, the easiest way is to get them their email address and then educate them slowly. But if you don't have that capability, what do? Run 10 or 20 different radio ads and hope one catches their attention? No. Online now we can do sequencing where they say, hey, watch the first ad. It's really an attention grabber. It's talking about the problem that you have with your water or with whatever we're trying to market here. And number 2 video talks about how we have a solution for that. And number 3 video, and so you sequence this ads. And guess what? Nobody sees number 2 until that individual person has seen number 1, right? So any given day, any given week, any given month, there's always new people feeding in that ad A, very first ad. But then there's more people in 2, 3, and so on. And you can also look at sort of micro actions. Somebody's scrolling through Facebook and pauses. They don't click, they don't comment, they don't interact, other than they just spend a few seconds reading it. We know they interacted. We can market to them better, right? None of these things you can do on traditional. So it gives us a much better understanding of what we can do to improve in the messaging. Whereas in traditional radio, television, you can't tell which television ad's working, which station was most effective, because you have to run a lot of them at once to make any impact. So what do you do? What's the solution to move people up this funnel, taking them from being problem aware to information gathering, etc.? Is you got to build trust, right? At least that's what we think it is. You have to determine for your brand, for your business, are you a discount brand or are you a quality brand? Are you a service brand? So how do you do that? I'm going to highlight super quickly a few services that we've been working on, we've been testing and had good success with that may be of interest to you. We'll look at these in more detail. Today, I mostly want to talk to you about the strategy, just getting your mind wrapped around what you're trying to do with your budget planning in 2021. Social media management. You don't want your staff sitting on Facebook all day, right? managing comments, responding to messages, answering basic questions. So we provide a service where we're doing that for many companies so that we can be more efficient with that and still help give you warmer leads, right? People that have basic questions or don't qualify won't have to waste your time with them. Email marketing, great way to build trust, great way to stay in communication with people. Overall, it's going to be your highest ROI if done right compared to any medium because it's super cheap to do. Email nurturing, what is this? Again, if you believe that your brand is about quality and service and building trust with those consumers, that's what your email nurturing is about. It's not about giving them another offer. It's not about cross-selling or cross-marketing. It's about educating them and providing that value. And of course, integrating. So whatever system you're using that data, I said, hey, you got to know what's working to be able to plan for next year. Well, right now, you should have more data and have a better understanding of what's working than you did 12 months ago. And if you don't, then there's an issue, right? And we need to spend some time digging into that because what matters is the system that's giving you that data. And we spend a lot of time on that. And so happy to dig in that with you or talk with your optimizer about that. And whatever system you're using, if it's not on that list, we can certainly figure out a way to integrate with it and do so. And a good point to just point out here, the details matter. So what do I mean by that? Everybody says they're doing drip campaigns, nurture campaigns, those types of things. But they're not all the same. There's a million ways to do something wrong. There's only a few to do it well and do it successfully. And so one thing to keep in mind, right? You might want to notate this, maybe write it down, take a screenshot, provide value whether the customer ever does business with you or not, right? Does a coupon provide value if they go and decide to do business with somebody else? Not really. No, I mean, it doesn't. But if we teach them about how you can solve their problems, about how other people address it incorrectly, these types of things, if we answer their most important questions about safety and other concerns, do you think that might build some trust and credibility? And you have to understand this is how the consumer works today. This is why we spend so much time researching things on the internet, so much time asking our friends, hey, what business did you work with, on Facebook and on other social mediums. That's why we spend so much time reading how do I videos or watching videos on YouTube, because we don't trust people. We're very skeptical. And if you're the business that's just signing deals instead of answering their questions, which group are you in? Are you the quality brand or are you the discount brand? So this one, I'm excited to share with you. So take a look at this ad. This is a Facebook ad for one of our clients. Do you notice what's special about this? What is amazing about this? What is completely unique about this? Have a guess? Well, about 90% of this ad was completely developed by a machine. Whoa, mind blown, right? A machine. So what do I mean by that? The image we don't yet have spitting out from the AI, the artificial intelligence yet. However, almost the rest of the entire text, I think we had to tweak this title down here, but that's about it. Almost the rest of this was written by a machine. Why is this mind-blowing? Why is this important? Because when you're doing mass media marketing, the message has to be constantly changing. We've noticed this for sure on Facebook. After somebody sees your message 2 or 3 times and they're not interacting, you have the wrong message. You got to change it. You got to try something new. And so that's really hard when you have 100 clients, when you have dozens of ads, dozens of topics out there, different things. And so the team that figures out how to do this using all the available resources, including machine learning and artificial intelligence, has a huge advantage. You'll hear more about this. Very excited. You should be too. All right, so what's the summary? Covered a few areas. Social is mass media. If you're talking about mass media in 2021 and you're planning, that's it. Like the majority of your budget should be to that. Why? That's where the majority of people are. Think about that, right? The majority of the people are there. I can go to 2 places and get to hundreds of millions of people. YouTube and Facebook. Okay, 2. First person ROI in your local market on these platforms has a huge first mover advantage. I don't really understate that. Like, think about that for a second. You figure it out and your competitors don't for 2, for 3, for 5 years. What does that do for your strategy? Largest market potential is not searching for you. Does that mean you don't do search? No, right? The people searching are the ones you want to get to today. They're ready to buy. We need those people coming in, generating cash flow. Absolutely. But they're not the largest market potential. And are you a discount or service brand? Is your messaging reflecting that? Finally, are the machines on your side? Are they working for you or not? At Optimized Marketing, that tool that I just showed you, we developed. It's not out there. Nobody else can buy that. They can't order it. It's not available in the public. We did that, and you're going to see a lot more of that coming up because it's going to be really important in being successful. So appreciate the time. Thank you, and take care.